There are mornings when you wake up feeling heavy, not because of your body, but because of your heart. The weight of worry, pressure, and unresolved thoughts cling to you like an invisible backpack. You carry it into your day, hoping it'll lighten on its own, but it rarely does. Today, let's try something different. Instead of holding it all in, what if you let it go? What if you handed every fear, every burden, every unanswered question to God? You weren't meant to carry it alone. Scripture says, cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. 1 Peter 5-7. When you surrender, you're not giving up, you're giving it over. You're trusting that God sees what you can't, knows what you don't, and is working even when you feel stuck. So take a deep breath, close your eyes, whisper the words, God, I give it all to you. And watch what happens next. Peace begins to rise. Clarity starts to form, and the weight you've carried for so long begins to lift. This morning isn't just another day. It's the beginning of letting go and letting God. There was a season in my life when fear ruled my mornings. I'd wake up with a tight chest, my mind already racing before my feet even touched the floor. Thoughts of the future and overwhelming would flood in like a wave I couldn't outrun. What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? What if everything falls apart? Every day felt like a silent battle. On the outside, I looked composed. I smiled. I worked. I showed up. But inside, I was carrying a weight that no one could see. It was like wearing an invisible backpack filled with anxiety, doubt, and pressure. And no matter how hard I tried to shake it off, it clung to me. I tried everything: journaling, breathing exercises, motivational videos. They helped for a moment, but the heaviness always returned. It was as if I was patching a leak in a boat that was slowly sinking. Then one morning, something shifted. I was sitting by the window, writing in my journal like I always did. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a soft glow across the page. I wasn't looking for answers. I was just trying to survive another day. But as I flipped through the pages of my Bible, my eyes landed on a verse I'd seen before, but never truly absorbed. Cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. 1 Peter 5-7. I paused. Read it again. And again. It felt like those words were written just for me. Not for someone stronger, more faithful, or more put together. For me in my mess, in my fear, in my exhaustion. I whispered the verse out loud, and then I cried. Not the kind of cry that comes from sadness alone, but the kind that comes from release. From finally realizing I didn't have to carry it all, that I wasn't designed to. That morning, I did something I'd never done before. I prayed not with fancy words or perfect structure, but with raw honesty. God, I said, I'm tired, I'm scared, I don't know what's coming next, but I give it to you. All of it, the fear, the pressure, the unknown. I can't carry it anymore. And something happened. Not instantly, not dramatically, but quietly, gently. I felt peace begin to rise, not because my circumstances changed, but because my posture did. I wasn't gripping everything with white knuckles anymore. I was opening my hands, surrendering, trusting. Over the next few days, I kept returning to that prayer. Every time anxiety crept in, I'd whisper, God, I give it to you. And slowly, the weight began to lift. I started to notice things I hadn't before: the way the morning light danced across the floor, the sound of birds outside my window, the warmth of a quiet moment. My heart wasn't racing. My mind wasn't spiraling. I was present. I was calm. And I knew God was working. Not just around me, but within me. He was reshaping the way I saw my life, not as a series of problems to solve, but as a journey to walk with Him. He wasn't asking me to be perfect. He was asking me to trust. That verse in 1 Peter became my anchor. Whenever fear tried to return, I'd remind myself, He cares for me, not just in theory, not just on Sundays, but every single moment. And the more I leaned into that truth, the more I saw evidence of His caring, the peace that replaced panic, in the clarity that replaced confusion, in the strength that rose from surrender. I don't know what you're carrying today. Maybe it's fear about your future. Maybe it's pressure at work, tension in your relationships, or a quiet ache in your soul that you haven't told anyone about. But I do know this: you don't have to carry it alone. God is inviting you to let go, to cast your anxiety on Him, to trust that He sees you, knows you, and deeply cares for you. It doesn't mean everything will change overnight, but it does mean you'll no longer be walking through it alone. So today, wherever you are, whether you're sitting in silence, driving to work, or lying awake at night, take a moment, close your eyes, breathe deep, and say the words that changed everything for me. God, I give it to you. Let that be your turning point, your release, your surrender. Because when you let go, you make room for peace, for healing, for hope, and that invisible backpack you've been carrying, it begins to feel lighter. Not because the load disappeared, but because someone far greater is now carrying it with you. You were never meant to do this alone. Let today be the day you stop fighting in silence and start trusting in grace. Let today be the day you cast your cares on the one who cares for you. What happens when you surrender all your worries to God? There are mornings when you wake up and the weight of the world greets you before the sunlight does. You open your eyes, and before your feet even touch the floor, your mind is already racing. Thoughts of unfinished tasks, uncertain futures, strained relationships, and silent fears begin to swirl. It's not just mental clutter, it's emotional heaviness. You feel it in your chest, in your breath, in the way your shoulders tense. Without you realizing, it's like carrying an invisible backpack, one that's filled with anxiety, pressure, and questions you don't have answers to. You try to push through. You tell yourself to be strong. You smile. You show up. You do what needs to be done. But inside, you're tired. Not just physically, but soul-tired. I know that feeling. I've lived it. There was a season in my life when every day felt like a silent battle. I'd wake up already exhausted, not from lack of sleep, but from the weight of everything I was trying to hold together. I was afraid of what tomorrow might bring. I was overwhelmed by what today demanded, and I was haunted by what yesterday left behind. I tried to manage it all. I made lists. I set goals. I read books. I watched motivational videos. I even tried to convince myself that I was fine. But deep down, I knew I wasn't. I was surviving, not living. I was functioning, not flourishing. Then one morning, something shifted. I was sitting by the window, journaling like I often did. The sun was rising slowly, casting a soft glow across the room. I wasn't looking for a breakthrough. I wasn't expecting anything divine. I was just trying to breathe. But as I flipped through the pages of my Bible, my eyes landed on a verse I'd seen before, but never truly absorbed. Cast all your anxiety on Him, because He cares for you. 1 Peter 5-7. I paused. I read it again. And again, it felt like those words were written just for me. Not for someone more spiritual. Not for someone more put together. For me in my mess, in my fear, in my exhaustion. I whispered the verse out loud. And then I cried. Not because I was sad, but because I felt seen. Because for the first time in a long time, I realized I didn't have to carry it all. I wasn't designed to. That morning, I prayed. Not with eloquent words or perfect structure, but with raw honesty. God, I said, I'm tired. I'm scared. I don't know what's coming next, but I give it to you. All of it. The fear, the pressure, the unknown. I can't carry it anymore. And something happened. Not instantly. Not dramatically, but quietly, gently. I felt peace begin to rise, not because my circumstances changed, but because my posture did. I wasn't gripping everything with white knuckles anymore. I was opening my hands. I was surrendering. I was trusting. Over the next few days, I kept returning to that prayer. Every time anxiety crept in, I'd whisper, God, I give it to you. And slowly, the weight began to lift. I started to notice things I hadn't before, the way the morning light danced across the floor, the sound of birds outside my window, the warmth of a quiet moment. My heart wasn't racing. My mind wasn't spiraling. I was present. I was calm, and I knew God was working. Not just around me, but within me. He was reshaping the way I saw my life, not as a series of problems to solve, but as a journey to walk with him. He wasn't asking me to be perfect. He was asking me to trust. Another verse began to echo in my heart. Cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. Psalm 55:22. That word sustain hit me deeply. God doesn't just take our burdens. He holds us up. He strengthens us. He walks with us through the valley, not just waits for us on the mountaintop. And then I remembered the words of Jesus. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Matthew 6:3-4. It's not that tomorrow doesn't matter. It's that today is where God meets us, right here, right now, in this breath, in this moment. So I began to live differently. I started each day with surrender, not as a last resort, but as a first response. Before the emails, before the meetings, before the noise, I'd pause, I'd breathe, I'd pray. God, I give you this day. I give you my thoughts, my plans, my fears. Lead me, guide me, carry me. And he did. Not always in the way I expected, but always in the way I needed. Sometimes it was through a conversation that brought clarity. Sometimes it was through a moment of silence that brought peace. Sometimes it was through a challenge that revealed strength I didn't know I had. But always, it was through his presence. That's the miracle of surrender. It doesn't erase the storm, but it anchors you in the middle of it. It doesn't guarantee a perfect outcome, but it guarantees you won't face it alone. So if you're listening to this, and your heart feels heavy, know this. You don't have to carry it all. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to pretend. You're okay when you're not. You can surrender. You can cast your cares on the one who cares for you. You can trade your anxiety for peace, your fear for faith, your pressure for presence. Take a moment. Close your eyes. Place your hand over your heart and whisper these words. God, I give it all to you. Let that be your turning point. Let that be your release. Let that be your healing. Because when you let go, you make room for peace, for clarity, for grace, and the weight you've carried for so long. It begins to lift, not because it disappears, but because someone far greater is now carrying it with you. You were never meant to do this alone. Let today be the day you stop fighting in silence and start trusting in grace. Let today be the day you cast your cares on the one who cares for you. And when you do, watch what happens. Watch how peace rises. Watch how strength returns. Watch how God works. What truly happens when you surrender to God, *. There's a moment in life when you realize that holding on is no longer strength, it's resistance. You've tried everything. You've planned, pushed, prayed, worried, and waited. You've carried burdens that no one sees, smiled through storms no one understands, and kept going when your soul begged for rest. And yet, the weight remains. But then, something shifts, not outside you but within. It's the moment you surrender. Not because you've given up, but because you've finally decided to trust. Surrender isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the quiet courage to say, God, I don't have to control this anymore. I give it to you. And when you do, when you truly let go, something sacred begins to happen. It's not always a miracle in the sky. It's not always a sudden breakthrough or a dramatic answer. Sometimes, the first thing that changes is you. You begin to breathe differently. You begin to see differently. You begin to feel lighter, not because the problem disappeared, but because the pressure did. You're no longer carrying it alone. You've handed it to the one who never asked you to bear it in the first place. Scripture says, cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. Psalm 55:22. That word sustain isn't passive. It's active. It means he holds you up. He strengthens you. He walks with you through the valley, not just waits for you on the mountaintop. And in that valley, something beautiful begins to bloom. By peace, not the kind the world gives, not the kind that depends on circumstances, but the kind that surpasses understanding, the kind that settles deep into your bones and whispers, you're safe, you're seen, you're held. You start to notice things you hadn't before, the way the morning light touches the trees, the way silence feels like a gift, the way your heart softens when you stop trying to control everything. You begin to see life through the eyes of faith, not blind optimism, not denial, but trust. Trust that God is working even when you don't see it. Trust that He's weaving something good, even from the threads of pain. Trust that surrender isn't the end. It's the beginning, because when you let go, you make room for healing, room for clarity, room for grace. And God steps in, and not always with thunder, but often with a whisper that says, I've got this, I've got you. You begin to walk differently, not faster, not harder, but freer. You begin to speak differently, not louder, but with more love. You begin to live differently, not perfectly, but peacefully. And people notice. They see the light in your eyes, the calm in your voice, the strength in your softness. They ask, what changed? And you smile, because you know, you surrendered. You stopped striving. You started trusting. You stopped clenching. You started opening. You stopped fearing. You started believing. And God began to move, not just around you, but within you. He began to restore what worry had stolen. He began to rebuild what fear had fractured. He began to renew what pressure had varied. And the best part, He's just getting started. Because surrender isn't a one-time event. It's a daily invitation. Every morning, you get to choose. Will I carry this alone, or will I give it to God? And every time you choose surrender, you choose peace. You choose freedom. You choose faith. So today, wherever you are, whether you're in a season of waiting, a moment of pain, or a place of uncertainty, pause, take a breath, close your eyes, and whisper the words that change everything. God, I give it to you. Let that be your release. Let that be your healing. Let that be your beginning. Because when you surrender, you don't lose control. You gain peace. You don't lose strength. You gain grace. You don't lose yourself. You find who you were always meant to be. Free. Practice. Invite the viewer to participate. There's something powerful about pausing. In a world that constantly demands our attention, our energy, our performance, it's rare to simply stop, to breathe, to be still. But right now, in this moment, I want to invite you to do just that. Wherever you are, whether you're sitting at your desk, lying in bed, walking through a quiet room, or watching this with tears in your eyes, I want you to know this moment is for you, not for who you're trying to be, not for who the world expects you to be, but for you as you are, with your worries, with your questions, with your heart wide open. So let's begin. Take a deep breath. Let it fill your lungs. Hold it for a second, and then slowly release. Now, I want you to grab a piece of paper, or open a blank note on your phone, or simply imagine it in your mind. And I want you to write down one thing that's been weighing on you. Just one. It could be a fear, a decision, a relationship, a financial pressure, a health concern, a dream that feels too far away, a regret that won't let go. Whatever it is, name it. Don't judge it. Don't minimize it. Just write it down. Let it be real. Now, place your hand over that word, that sentence, that burden. Feel the weight of it. Feel the truth of it. And now, let's pray together. You don't have to be eloquent. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be honest. Here we go. God, this is what I've been carrying. It's heavy. It's hard. And I don't know what to do with it anymore. I've tried to fix it. I've tried to ignore it. I've tried to carry it alone. But today, I'm choosing something different. I'm choosing surrender. I'm choosing trust. I'm choosing you. I place this burden in your hands. I give you my fear, my confusion, my exhaustion. I give you the part of me that's tired of pretending. I give you the part of me that's afraid to hope. I give you the part of me that doesn't know how to let go. God, I don't need all the answers right now. I just need your presence. I need your peace. I need your strength. I believe you're working even when I can't see it. I believe you care even when I feel forgotten. I believe you're near even when I feel alone. So I surrender fully, freely, finally. Take this, Lord, and do what only you can do. Amen. Now pause. Let that prayer settle. Let it sink into the deepest parts of you. You may not feel different right away. That's okay. Surrender isn't always a feeling, it's a decision, a posture, a quiet shift in the soul. But here's what I know. When you surrender, something begins to change. Not always around you, but always within you. You begin to breathe easier. You begin to think clearer. You begin to walk lighter. Because you're no longer carrying it alone. You've handed it to the one who's never overwhelmed, never confused, never late. You've handed it to the one who sees the full picture, who knows the way forward, who loves you more than you can imagine. And now, you wait not with anxiety, but with expectation, not with fear, but with faith, not with pressure, but with peace. Because God is working. He's working in the silence, in the stillness, in the spaces you can't see. He's aligning things, healing things, restoring things. He's preparing you, strengthening you, holding you. So let him do what only he can do. Let him carry what you were never meant to hold. Let him speak into the places you've kept quiet. Let him love you in the places you've felt unworthy. This is the beauty of surrender. It's not the end. It's the beginning. It's not weakness. It's wisdom. It's not giving up. It's giving over. And when you do, when you truly let go, you make room for peace, room for clarity, room for grace, room for God. So today, I invite you to keep practicing this. Not just once, not just when things get hard, but daily. Start your mornings with surrender. End your nights with release. Write down your worries. Speak them out loud. Hand them over. And then, watch what happens. Watch how your heart softens. Watch how your mind quiets. Watch how your spirit rises. Because surrender isn't just a moment, it's a lifestyle. And it's one that leads to freedom. So if this moment has touched you, if this prayer has stirred something in you, I encourage you to share it. Not because it's perfect, but because someone else might need it just as much as you did. Someone else might be carrying a burden they don't know how to name. Someone else might be waiting for permission to let go. And you might be the voice that helps them find peace. So share this. Send it to a friend. Post it. Speak it. Live it. Let your surrender become someone else's invitation. Let your healing become someone else's hope. Let your story become someone else's strength. Because when we surrender together, we rise together. And that is the beginning of something beautiful. You are not alone, even in the silence, even in the struggle, even when it feels like no one sees you. God does. He sees your heart. He knows your pain. And he's working, even now, behind the scenes, in ways you can't yet imagine. He hasn't forgotten you. He hasn't abandoned you. He's drawing near because he loves you. And when you surrender, when you let go of the weight you've been carrying, that's when he begins to move. Not always with thunder, but often with quiet miracles. Peace where there was panic, strength where there was weakness, hope where there was despair. So if this message has touched you today, don't keep it to yourself. Someone you know might be carrying a burden they haven't spoken aloud. Someone might be waiting for a sign, a word, a prayer, and you could be the one to deliver it. Share this video. Send it to a friend. Post it where someone might stumble across it at just the right moment. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Stillness with Jesus. This space was created for hearts like yours, searching, healing, growing in faith. Join the community. Leave a comment. Let us know what you're surrendering today. Because when we walk together in faith, we don't just survive, we rise. You are seen, you are loved, and you are never, ever alone. Let God do the rest.